How's it going, everybody? Nick Daniels here yet again. Really snowy day, kind of miserable here, but we got some good news coming at you here. So this is the beginning of the video, and I'm gonna have another video segment here after, because now this is the before and after of my Walmart interview. I don't mind saying where my interview is, because most of the fan base, in all honesty, is actually people that I know personally, and I've told most of them personally. This is where it's at. Yeah, so it's Walmart here. So technically I applied for 3 positions. I don't know how this works out. So I applied for cashier, sales experience. I really don't know what that is. Hang on here, I gotta make a bit of maneuver. I'm gonna pay a little more closer attention to the road on this video, because like I said, she's really miserable out right now. Sales associate. Now, I'm assuming sales associate's pretty self-explanatory, but that's obviously working in a department. You're probably on the floor quite a bit, helping customers, that kind of thing. Cashier's explanatory. I don't need to tell you guys what that is. And I don't know what customer experience actually is, but the funny thing was there was only 2 slots for interviews, quote unquote. So like, I had to go onto a link, which actually wasn't working for the first like 24 hours that they sent me the link anyway. That was the funny part. And when I finally got it working, because I called HR twice to try to get them to get that working, I finally get in. So I get the link going, and I can pick 2 interview times only, 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. today. That's all I got. So we went with it, right? But I applied for 3 positions, I think. I don't know why. I thought I applied for 2, but it gave me like 3 emails. So I might actually only be the cashier and sales associate. That's what I think it is, because I think the customer experience is the same thing as the associate, but I don't really know yet. So I'm gonna find that information out. I'm definitely going in there and asking, because I would like to know. That's one thing I find about an interview. I haven't had that many interviews, but I'm at the point that I understand the kind of questions I should be asking for these jobs. They're part-time jobs, but there are certain things that you need to be knowing, right, when you're there. And there's really basic ones, right? Like one question, for example, that I would ask these guys is like, what kind of hours are we looking at? What do the positions entail, right? What department is sales associate, right? Like where am I actually located at when I'm working? And what am I actually doing? Right, is a good question. I did print off a thing of references this time, because last time I didn't actually have references with me, and that was my bad. I should have had that available, but I told them that I would email them within half an hour my references, which I did. But I actually had to assume that I didn't get a positive reference out of one of them, which would be from Sobeys. But I changed that up, and I put somebody else from Sobeys who was a direct coworker, so that way he actually had held me in quite high esteem, so I figured he would be a little bit more appropriate than the store manager, who barely worked with me or knew me. Made sense. So, like I said, we're kind of playing it by ear, and I'm also sorry if the camera's a little askew. I kind of just jumped into the car. I'm not really in a rush, but in a bit of a, we're gonna make this quick, and I just kind of slapped the GoPro on there. I didn't really look. So yeah, she's kind of like, I noticed it right away, but yeah, she's tilted a little bit, so it's good. The camera's not going to look perfect. If I can figure it out, I might try to do something in Vegas and see if I can make it look a little bit more smooth, but honestly, I kind of doubt it. Now, like I said, at the end of the day here, yeah, this interview's in about 20 minutes. I want to get in there 10-15 minutes early, preferably. I don't like going too early, but you know, early enough. And it's funny that I talked about one day in my video, and I kind of said you had to know your audience, and I want to briefly talk about that again. Oh, we just slid right there. Yeah, I just want to talk about that again real quick. So when I was talking about that, it also applies to today, because again, you have to kind of realize what you're dressing for, right? And yeah, it's an interview, but you got to realize, what company am I applying to, right? So there are certain companies that if I go to an interview, I would wear a blazer and maybe a tie. And even that, the tie, you still got to play it by ear, right? Because they're actually, ironically, there is a thing called overdressing, right? And again, I'm only applying technically for a retail position, so I don't really want to overdo myself. So I went with like a smart casual. I don't know if you can see it really well in the video under the jacket, but I've got a dress shirt on, okay, and I've got a sweater. It's a nice little like V-neck sweater, so the dress shirt pops up, right? That's the idea. It pops out of the V-neck so you can see it. So it's got a good classy look. I've got dress pants on, and always tucked, by the way. And then of course I've got some half decent leather shoes that are getting miserably soaked from all the snow. But the point is, you know, that's smart casual, right? And in my opinion, I'm not overdoing it by any means, but I'm still looking the part, right? I'm still looking like, okay, this guy is still, you know, he's still serious. He's still dressing up a little bit for it. You know, I think the blazer can still be interpreted as smart casual as well. The blazer is not necessarily, like, it's more like a sports jacket, is what someone might call it. You know, the blazer's got its point, right? But again, in this given situation, I don't feel like that's really something that should be worn today. Kind of judging the situation, where I'm applying to, you know, what's really at stake here. I don't really think the blazer is something that screamed to me that, you know, I need to be wearing that. You know, that's just not how that goes today. But anyway, that's just one man's opinion, one man's vlog. So technically, it's not gonna be like I'm seeing in the next video just yet. I'll be seeing you probably any time. Man, I don't even know where the fucking parking spaces are, dude. There's just no parking space here. It's just snow. But yeah, so I'll let you know. I'm gonna cut the video and then we'll come right back, and obviously by then I'll know kind of how the interview went, and I can kind of play that by ear. So yeah, I still got 15 minutes, so I got plenty of time. I might sit for about a minute or two and relax and unwind, and then we're gonna walk in and get it over in a positive way. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We're gonna see you in the next video. Peace. How's it going, everybody? Nick Daniels here, yet again, bringing folks another video on my interview. This is part 2, by the way. It's funny, I still did my intro. I subconsciously did the intro. I didn't even think about it. Anyway, so yeah, I had the interview. It took about an hour, actually. It was pretty interesting. It took that long. So I did apply for 2 positions. I basically did both interviews in the same, as I expected I would. I really didn't see much else happening on that situation. So I'll give you a little bit of an idea of what actually happened and how I feel about it. So I walk in, and Walmart's got rows of cashiers, obviously, right? Like the cashiers working at their tills. And there's a little bench you can sit at. Like, it's just, you know, if you were waiting for something, you know, whatever. I just want to see what this person's doing here. Let's see what they're doing. Okay, they're turning. But yeah, so like you said, there's a lot, it's interesting because you don't really know what's going on right away, right? Because I'm saying that because when I walked in, I saw this bench. There was actually somebody sitting there. There was a woman just sitting there. Okay, and she's like just hands on her lap, just kind of waiting. And I had a feeling, because it did say in the email that I think there was a possibility of a group interview. Sure enough, it was. So we wait like 15 minutes. Her and I just do some awkward small talk, but it's not too bad. She's friendly and she seems nice. So we're talking, and you know, I figure out she's applying for the cashier position. I tell her I'm applying for the sales associate and cashier, but again, I'm more leaning towards the sales associate position. Now, ironically, the woman comes out, the manager, I would assume, hiring manager, and she actually tells us to quickly go grab an item. We got about 5 minutes. We can grab an item anywhere in the store, and we have to be ready to kind of like talk about it. Oh fuck, right? Now, I shop at Walmart quite often, so I know where a lot of things are, actually. If you ask me like the general layout of where an item is, I can probably find it. So that's not a problem. So I walked around for like, you know, a couple minutes, and I grabbed a can of beans because I like eating beans and wieners, and I live off them right now, where I don't have a job. Nothing wrong with that. And so we had to talk about that, and I literally said that. I was like, well, I live off these, I'm in college, The manager took quite an interest to that, actually. She thought that was really cool. You know, I told her I'm taking information technology. She said we have a bunch of people here who are in, you know, university, NSCC, and you know, and we're very flexible with that, right? Which is actually, that's awesome to hear, because that actually means if I actually get that job, that means they're going to be very flexible with working around my schooling, and I'm very appreciative of that, and it goes a long way for me. So that kind of being said, talked with the item, and then she goes, okay, now I've got 10 situations for both of you. You need to work as a team and figure out where they rank in importance. And she goes, I'll give you a hint, safety's number one. So safety being number one of the situations described a spill of pickles, right? And I decided that would probably not be number one, quite frankly, because a spill of pickles, you know, that's a slip hazard, and somebody could get really seriously hurt. The only one we messed up on, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't agree with this, but the girl that was with me, she kind of took over that a little bit more, and she switched a roll around. So she put theft kind of low, and the one that she put a little bit higher was somebody taking longer for a break, which delayed everyone else. And she goes, you know, that can be kind of important, which it can be. But then the manager told us that actually should have been like flipped around in importance. I was like, failed, no! Didn't get the job. Anyway, so yeah, that kind of happened. That was fine. She gave us then a sheet, an availability sheet, and I was very flexible. You know, I'm like, basically 4 o'clock to 10, that's where we talked about the NSCC thing, and she's like, you know, we're very easy to work around, that kind of stuff, which is awesome. And again, I'm very appreciative of that. And the woman that was there, she kind of gave a reason why she's not always available, so she had to write a lot of stuff in there that were certain times she was and wasn't. And I don't want to be that guy, but sometimes that just doesn't work out in your favor, because they're not going to want to hire somebody who isn't super flexible. I came with NSCC. I'm not the most flexible. I can't work any time for them, but I can still work, you know, again, all day Saturday, Sunday, and basically any weeknight. So there's still a good amount of flexibility there to be had. Now, the final part of the interview, she gave us a sheet, and it had a customer experience, okay? And it was like, we need you to look at this, kind of tell us what's wrong and what you would go over. And again, the woman brought up a couple key points, but she didn't touch on all of them. So I kind of jumped in there and I related to my experiences. And that's so I think I did really well there, because and I wasn't like a competition. We're not even applying basically for the same position. Like, I want to be a sales associate, she wants to be a cashier. You know, that's perfectly fine. But it was just funny because, again, the way that I looked at it was my own personal experiences, and I related to them, and that's what I brought up. I said, well, you know, this happened to me before. Like, one of the situations in this example was that Buddy was new to a department, or he didn't work in that department. So a woman asked him for help. He told her, I can't help you. I don't work in this department. Right? And, you know, that's clearly not the way that it needs to be done. So I related to it, and I said, listen, I've counted so many times. I even said I went to a store that I didn't even work at, Future Shop, and a woman asked me for help because she thought I worked there. And I was like, you know what? I still helped her. Right? And the woman laughed, like the hire manager laughed at that, and I'm like, no, I'm dead serious. And it's like, even in Sobeys, which again, I said I had like 6 years at, I was like, if I go to a department and somebody asks me for help, I could just be walking by. I'm like, I'm going to take the time out of my day to help them. And I said, I'm going to tell them I don't work that department, so I might not know, but I will either find this item for you, or I will find somebody who knows where it is, right? And you leave away having that customer happy. And again, I think I killed that. And I told her flat out, I was like, I could have talked about this way more, about that sheet, but we only had, I guess they didn't want to take too long on that. But like I said, there was a lot that I could have talked about. Like, there's a lot wrong with it, and trust me, like, I could have said a whole novel there, but I left it at what I did. Honestly, I think it went kind of well. She said that they were going to punch the scores in online. Like, she doesn't really handle the actual hiring, so that's of course all online. I'm not super confident about that aspect. I don't like that idea, but that kind of is what it is. So like I said, like she's gonna apply that stuff online, and like I guess then the scores will be tallied, and I guess whoever gets a job gets a job. And there's still a ton of people she's got to interview anyway. But I'm confident still. I feel like I did well, and I feel like I got the experience to back it. So time will tell. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. That's been my interview process, a very interesting one, and I didn't mind it. A little more dynamic. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.